Call to the member for North Sydney.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy. Australians are worried. Not only are they dealing with rising costs of energy, but they're also trying to make sense of headlines that warn us of an unreliable grid that is likely to lead to energy shortages. Why isn't the government doing more to get solar on individual homes and to incentivise landlords to add solar wherever possible? And why aren't we lifting the cap on the small-scale renewable energy scheme from 100 kilowatts to 1,000 kilowatts to accelerate the distributed energy resource?
The call to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the honourable member for her question, although I must disagree with the premise that she puts to the House, because in the budget this government delivered a $1.7 billion package to help Australian businesses, households and councils make the transition to renewable energy, Mr Speaker. And $1.7 billion is not a small amount of money when you put it to such a cause, Mr Speaker. It enables households and small businesses and local governments to make the sorts of investments they want to, with some government assistance through low-interest loans and through grants as appropriate, to make those decisions. Now, the honourable member refers to, in effect, the Statement of Electricity Opportunities out last week, and it does underline the importance and the urgency of the transition to renewable energy, something that some honourable members in the House understand, like the honourable member for North Sydney does, and others do not. Now, these warnings from the energy market operator, as was contained in last week's Statement of Electricity Opportunities, are not new. There were similar warnings given in the same statements in 2019 and 2020 and 21, almost exactly the same wording in many instances. The difference is, in this instance, this government is acting. The previous government had 21 energy policies, couldn't land one, and as a result we saw 4 gigawatts of dispatchable power leave the grid and only 1 gigawatt come on, a situation we are remedying.
Call to the honourable member for Lyons.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Attorney-General. Can the Attorney-General update the House on the referendum for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander recognition through a voice?
Give the call to the Attorney-General.
I thank the member for Lyons for his question. It's timely to remind those opposite and all Australians what this referendum is actually about. Because, as the member for Barara and many others have commented, the No case wants to debate every issue imaginable except the one that's on the ballot paper. The issue on the ballot paper is the addition of 3 very straightforward sentences to the Constitution. The proposed amendment is this: in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of Australia, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice may make representations to the Parliament and the Executive Government of the Commonwealth on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures. That is it. Unlike the Leader of the Opposition's announcement over the weekend calling for a second referendum, the constitutional recognition through a voice that is currently before the Australian people does not come from politicians. It came directly from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people themselves. We know that when governments listen to people, they get better results, they get better outcomes, they use funding more effectively. We all know that the current approach is not working. The gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians is not closing in health, in education, in housing and on just about every other measure. There is an 8-year gap in life expectancy. The suicide rate for Indigenous Australians is twice as high as the rate for non-Indigenous Australians. Rates of disease and infant mortality are higher for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. After years of failed programs and policies, Indigenous Australians are not seeking a purely symbolic form of constitutional recognition, which would not do anything to turn things around. What is needed is a practical form of constitutional recognition. What is needed is a voice.
Call the Prime Minister.